We're here with Daniel Murray from Grange Street, which a young up-and-coming band from Kilmarnock, which is making me feel incredibly old because I'm friends with Daniel's mum and dad. So welcome, Daniel. Thanks very much for coming along.
Daniel, what were your influences and how did the band come together?
So probably the influences would be kind of 80s stuff, probably stuff that you'd grew up with. Probably the two biggest ones are the Jam and the Smiths for myself. Just from my mum and dad are all into that stuff. So yeah, I'm a big believer you either diverge away from what your mum and dad listen to, or you follow the same path, and I follow the same path. So in terms of the band started kind of a lot of things during COVID, because I was not really in bands before until I started this one. Just kind of boredom in COVID, so I picked up the guitar again, started writing songs. I found I was no bad at it. And then one of my pals, brothers, he played the bass, and I kind of worked with him in the past, summer school thing. So I messaged him, and the idea was he was going to be bass, I was going to play guitar, and we were going to be a singer and a drummer. But then there's a guy that stays in my street who I also worked with at some point, and he's just a wee musical genius on the guitar. So he managed to get him involved, and then I just decided, well, they're my songs, so I'm going to sing them. So that's how it kind of formed, and then we kind of milled about for a good year because we couldn't find a drummer. So we just did demos, wrote away, and then we eventually found a drummer at probably the end of 2022, and then kind of been at it since then.
How is the local music scene? Has it helped you or has it hindered you? What do you think of the local music scene at the moment?
It's definitely helped, like knowing people like yourselves who are into music. I would say, to be honest, it made it harsh. I don't have as much of a scene, probably from when
That's true.
even if I look before COVID, you had the Belfast Tavern that did gigs at least every Saturday, sometimes every Friday and Saturday. Whereas now the big problem, I like trying to get a gig in Killie, is there's not really that many places to play. I know Bakers is trying to kind of revive that, but there's not a place to do regular gigs, and that's maybe a big hindrance, where you then got to look at Glasgow, and I think a problem we've found, in my opinion, is there's too many bands in Glasgow to stand out, whereas if you're playing about in Ayrshire and Kilmarnock, you can build a following that way.
I think that's what we're missing in Kilmarnock. That's what the whole issue at the moment, and everybody we've spoken to, we knew it was an issue anyway, post-pandemic, was the amount of places that are closing down, the amount of venues closing down, and people just aren't putting gigs on anymore. And if there are gigs, it's usually like covers, which is fine, as long as it's live music, it's fine. But there just isn't. And people want gigs, and it's going to hold bands back. It is, because you're going to be swallowed up in Glasgow. And it's just such a shame, because there's such a vibrant music scene here up until very recently.
Where have Grange Street played up to this point, and how have you been received?
So we've played pretty much nearly every kind of venue you can play in Glasgow. Probably the biggest, most famous one, King Tut's, that was about a year ago, which was, good reception. It's kind of, again, being from Killie, we found it a bit hard to sell tickets up there, but we always get a good reception to who we're playing to. It's getting people to come back. Probably the best reception we get is when we play Killie. So we played Bakers, and we played Glencairn Suite and Cardiff Coin, and we've had a good reception there, and that's probably a gig we've enjoyed the most.
What drives the band on to continue today? When you're writing songs and that, how does it all?
My stubbornness to make it work, I suppose. I think it's myself that writes most of the songs. I mean, the guitars kind of collaborate and finish it off, but the kind of original idea of the song is mine. So again, I feel it's my song, so I'm kind of want them to do well.
Do you get into a rehearsal room with a kind of rough demo, and then let everybody else put their bit in? How does it all come? How does the songs come?
So I normally come up with 3 or 4 chords and a kind of rough idea, and then I'll send it to my mate Calmy, who's a guitarist, and he And he summed up perfectly that I sketch it, he paints it. Because I'm limited with my musical ability, where he's just got something I don't. So I'll send him like a acoustic recording from my phone, and he'll go, aye, that's all right. And then we'll record it as a demo, and then we take it to the other guys, the MJ and Murray, and then they put their influences, and by the time we play it live, everyone's got an influence on it. But the overall sound, by the time we go to rehearse it, is already there.
In the band, it's always pretty high quality musicianship for such a young guy. I know Murray quite well, and plays guitar as well as drums, and it's pretty good. And you're good. What I've seen of the band, you know, the other guitarist and your bass player, always really good, high quality musicianship, and the band's really tight. So you're certainly on the right track, and the songs are strong.
Definitely, that's the belief I always had. Like from the first gig we did with Brass and Granite, just before it shut, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think the songs were any good. That's my, like, I wouldn't be bothered doing it if I didn't think I had potential. So, and yeah, I'm lucky to work with three really good musicians. Like, I would argue I'm probably the weakest musician in the band, but I'm a strong songwriter, so it works really well together. Aye.
It'd be interesting that your take on, and you know, we're probably one of the youngest guys we've been interviewing, and do you think it's really, really important to be playing live? You know, you get social media now we didn't have back in the day, and it was just live performances we had, really. Do you still think that's a really important part?
Very interesting question. I mean, I enjoy playing live, but I enjoy recording more because I think there's just a much more opportunity to add like synths and glockenspiel and stuff like that, which you're kind of limited in a 4-piece band, where when we're doing demos, we've got about 8 guitar tracks and then 4 synth tracks and then the bass, where it's hard to replicate that sound. And when we've done demos, we're going, oh, that's fantastic. And then you play it live and it doesn't seem to have the same impact, which I think you kind of are limited with playing live. But no, I do enjoy playing live a lot as well. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're one or the other. I think they've both got their kind of pros and cons to it.
Yeah, it's just interesting, you know, a younger guy, what the differences are to, you know, back in our day when it was live and a couple of demo tapes and what, but we didn't have social media then, of course. So even though in our age now, I wouldn't really know how to utilise social media, but you younger guys do. But I like the fact that you guys do play a lot of live gigs, so I like that fact.
How has music changed you? And what's it brought to your life?
Probably for a teenager, it's been the kind of main drive in my life. It's kind of one proper passion I've ever had. Probably since doing the band, I'm a lot more confidence I got in myself. Like when you're early 20s, you're very unsure of yourself. Because you're doing this and you're getting a good reception, folk are going, you know, you're not actually got a bit of a talent for it. It does a lot for your self-esteem as well. So yeah, that's kind of what music and as a whole has done for me. Yeah,
I'd imagine you and your mum and dad feel well. You'd be brought up in a house full of music.
Oh yeah, I couldn't escape it.
They're both seriously into their music, so I can see the influences when I hear your music, kind of smash jam, kind of, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
in my book, it's a really, really good thing.
What's been your highlight so far, musically?
well, getting to work with David Ross was not his last book, the book he did before. Was Dashboard Elvis is Dead. He asked us to do a song for the book, and I've been a big fan of his books before I had a chance to meet him. So
he's a good guy. I've been years.
So my aunt was quite pally with him, so she got me in touch with him, and yeah, just to be given that opportunity to work with someone that you kind of Admire was quite good, and then for his last book, we played it as a book launch, which again was maybe not the biggest gig we've done, but it's probably the highlight that I've done so far. Yeah,
I read his book, The Last Days of Distance. That was a brilliant book. Well, I've read a couple of his books, but I thought that The Last Days of Distance was an excellent book.
I've been at a couple of his book launches, just my daughter played
I've been to
one of them as well. It's really interesting. It's quite a good, like marriage, the kind of literary side of it, and then, the music side of it, and just the different people. And I think it was at Dick Institute. He did the one I went, and Jack Sutton played one of them as well. So,
well, I think the music's quite a big influence on his all
books as well. Yeah, he would say
he always does that
as well.
He always does like a kind of track list at the end of the book, and
that's true.
yeah, so you can. That's probably why he's got such a passion for helping bands as well, because it's probably one of his passions is music as well.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a talented fella.
He's a good guy. So has the band got any plans for making a single or an album or whatever?
Yeah, we're hoping to do something at least later on in the year. Don't really know what that'll be. I would like to do an album, but it's getting the time and money to do it. Certainly, we've got enough material for an album. Maybe doing a single or an EP first just to get back. It's been a while since we've recorded anything, so maybe just to test the waters again with a single. And yeah, hopefully we'll have something out by the end of the year at least.
And you're still involved with 13 Deluxe?
Yeah.
With you and John?
Yeah.
They're good guys to kind of guide you.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wealth of experience there, the two of them.
Hundreds of experience.
And you've got a great setup.
Yeah.
Yeah. What advice have you got for teenagers starting out now? Because you are obviously different to us because you're a lot younger. So you've got different experiences.
Don't pigeonhole yourself with a sound. I think certainly when I was a teenager, if it wasn't punk, I thought it was a waste of time. Whereas probably it's maybe been a benefit from starting the band when I was 25, where I spent a bit more time listening to other stuff and getting other influences, and it opens up other avenues away and different ways of working and different sounds. So yeah, just don't back yourself into a corner and experiment with sounds and just absorb everything you can.
Find something you like.
Yeah.
Right for yourself and other words, not for people. Because I found that as well when I was younger. If it wasn't a punk band or a goth band, I just wouldn't get near it. It's not, you've obviously found you're more mature than I am, because it took me to well on in life to realise, like different styles of music and different kind of genres and whatnot. But I think that's important.
And do you listen to a whole wide section of a different kind of music?
I mean, it's probably mostly that kind of post-punk 80s new wave stuff, but I mean, I love 60s music, soul stuff. I always find that the bands that I really love, so got me into other stuff, so like The Clash, obviously punk, and then from that I got into like ska and reggae, and then I got into the Jam, and from that I got into like Northern Soul and bands like the Small Faces, the Kinks, all those kind of 60s kind of American invasion bands, and then the Smiths I got into the kind of 80s jangly music, like Echo and the Bunnymen, the House Martins. So I just, it's like a broad spectrum, but probably I focus in on that. But again, I think that kind of 80s stuff, there's so much going on that it's not necessarily one sound.
It was a great era for music.
Do you listen to any bands that are new bands that are out the new?
Yeah, not as much as I do to older bands. Or certainly, I don't agree when people say there's no guitar bands about. I say go up to Glasgow and you'll see 10 venues playing on 3 different bands. There's lots out there. I mean, locally you've got bands like San Jose, the Rampants, they're all doing stuff. The Pines as well. Probably kind of bigger bands, stuff like Blossoms, who got that kind of 80s synthy vibe, or the albums, so you can tell their influences are like that kind of jangle pop. I mean, there's certainly bands out there. I don't think there's a shortage of them.
What's the plans for Green Street now? What is your future plans now for the band?
It'd be building up a following, because I think we're at the point the songs are there, the ability's there. It's just getting I suppose I'm a good crack at it. We're actually building a fan base rather than just jumping for support gig to support gig in Glasgow. Actually, I try something just a wee bit different, you know.
You mentioned the Rampants there in the Pines in San Jose. Are there other young bands in Kilmarnock we might not know about?
There's Stepping on Violets as well. They're kind of 80s synthy sound, but I know there's a band for the Urban called the Clays. We played with them supporting Kyle Faulkner and Bakers. They're quite a good wee band as well. So that's it. There might be there's not places to play, but there's certainly the bands are there. You know, it's
what in Kilmarnock specifically? What are your favourite venues to play, Daniel?
I do like Bakers. It's a nice setup. I wish they just could put on a bit more regular gigs. I think it'd be it's built for a perfect gig venue. I quite like the Caddy. It's a bit small and it's just a pub in it, but you always get a good reception in there.
It's the atmosphere, isn't it?
It's the atmosphere. So that's probably one of the funnest places I've played, certainly.
I certainly think Gareth and Mike are intending to put on more gigs if they can, which is great. Hopefully they can do that. But you're right, it's distinct. You just mentioned the two venues in Kilmarnock. There needs to be more.
Yeah, it's just missing a place like the Belford Tavern that with a dedicated band every Saturday, like lined up for the 1 or 2 years, you know.
You played with Kyle Faulkner, you were saying. What was that like, play with him?
It was alright, I never met him. He was,
do you know?
No, I turned up, played and left.
So you never got a chance to meet him?
No.
Have you supported any other kind of bigger acts?
Nah, he's the kind of biggest one I've played with. Yeah.
That's still to come, this you won, and you got a couple of big support slots.
Ideally, yeah.
Would be great. That's good. Get you noticed. I just thought that aspect was really, I just can't get, well, I know how to watch social media, but I think if I was in a band now at my age and somebody says, I can't you're nearly 60, well, let's try and get signed, I wouldn't have a bloody clue.
Plus, it's not even about being a musician, it's about being a social media influencer. It's not really about...
I know. I'd have to get somebody to help me out.
I can't work a computer. I'm hopeless at all that. Can we, with all this, the social media thing, you'd think it would open up doors for bands, but there's never to play. See, in Kilmarnock, never to play. Can you be 2 or 3 venues and that's it?
I think it's in the 80s it was harder to get noticed, but in a sense that nowadays it's how you project yourself, and it's the technology. If you know how to use the technology, you can get noticed. But we didn't have that back in the day. But in those days, if you got the right gigs and knew the right people, do you know what I mean? You had to be talented, I suppose, but maybe that's why we never made it.
To some extent, you still have to know the right people. Like we only got that Kyle Faulkner gig because I messaged Mikey. So is there any chance we could...
But there's in for the way these. You go to Glasgow and you're paying to play. A lot of places still.
The biggest issue for Glasgow is a lot of the promoters say you can't play anywhere else in Glasgow 4 weeks either side.
Yeah.
So you're kind of writing off another 2 months and again, by that 2 months, folk will forget they've seen you. Especially if you're not... You see every band though in Glasgow, it's the same probably amount of following that we get. You're selling maybe 30 tickets each, but then everyone just comes and sees their pals and then they bugger off.
Well, that's the issue. They come to see the band, they're there to see, then they leave. So you're not gaining anything. Unless they specifically want to see music, they'll stay. No.
And I must admit, I'm a believer in, whenever you're putting 3 or 4 bands on, that every band should stay and watch every other band.
Yeah.
Because one thing I'm not a fan is, a band goes on and plays and then they go down and they leave.
Yeah, that annoys me as well.
I don't think that's... I think you should be staying to watch other bands supporting them. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of that when I see folk packing their stuff up and leaving, because they've played first and getting their money and run.
You do see a lot of kind of younger bands. I don't know if it's maybe... I think younger people just... I think consume music differently. They're not there to see... They're just there to support their friends. It's not really about, we might discover the next big band, you know.
And you're spot on.
It's literally to support their pals, and once they've done that, they're like, right, well, we've done our part, we're away.
Where do they go? Just go home, or?
They've got a pub.
Yeah, pub.
They go on a night out, which, I remember that's because you're paying to see your entry, you're only you're only in for
I
it's
understand
maybe
that.
7 o'clock and your curfew at 10. You're only
Most
there
of
for
the
3 hours.
bands, aye.
With the venue lows their drink prices was enticing to stay, but that's how they're making their money, aren't it? Isn't it? It's a shame.
See, when you think about this now, it's quite depressing to see that after the pandemic, venues are kind of slowly disappearing. And this is happening in a national
Level.
level that
the Leadmill
venues
and Sheffield.
That's right.
are slowly disappearing because folk are not being out to watch live bands.
It's also rising costs. It's the rising costs, stock, staff wages, government ain't helping, that's for sure. And, it's people aren't getting, which we were talking about earlier, people are finding a new way to entertain themselves at home without going out.
I think it's the gap between the really big bands as well. So
It's widening.
you're either paying
it-
150 quid to see somebody massive. You're then maybe not got the money to then spend, your 10, 20 quid to see somebody smaller. And I think, 9 times out of 10 the big bands winning that fight.
I mean, I think £70 to go to that punk all day with the pistols and the stranglers and undertones, etc. £70 is decent.
But when you think about the bands that are playing,
I
you
know.
would pay 30 quid to see one of them.
I know.
That's not too bad.
It's not too bad at all, but £150 to see, Metallica or something like that. Sorry, I wouldn't be. I mean,
But I know somebody pays 500.
are you serious? £500?
Are you going to see Oasis? How much did the ticket
That was
cost?
50. My mate got
That's
the
not too
pre-sale
bad.
on the Friday night, so
That's not too bad.
150 is the most I would pay. So I paid that for Paul McCartney as well, but he's old, you might never see him
No,
again.
no.
And I mean, I've seen Leo Mandel on their own. I'm just going, I think it's kind of
Nostalgia.
cultural trip. It's a cultural
Uh,
moment, I think. So it's just to say I've seen them.
Something I'll never be able to stay.
No. Yeah, well, that's a different era from us.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Daniel Murray from Grange Street. It's been a pleasure, son.
Always.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate
No
it.
worries.
Thank you.
Cheers.